Hey, what's up guys? It's Ben. Today I'm coming to you with another video. This time I'm going to be breaking down my top 5 light heavyweights in UFC history. Okay, so right off the bat, there's going to be a little controversy. I'm not having Jon Jones on this list. Why? Because he's cheated and there just are a lot of question marks in his career because of decisions that he's made, right? His PED use, his DQ loss against Matt Hamill, which I think he also got DQ, or was a no contest, I think, against Daniel Cormier because of the PED usage. And then he's just kind of he's a very controversial fighter, and he often makes poor decisions. And so the PED use, to me, particularly because it was a multiple times, it really just raises a question for like his entire career. And there were a couple decisions that were questionable. That's not necessarily his fault. You would have to prove that he bribed the judges or something. And I don't see any proof that that's the case. And so, but I guess in a sense it does, because like when you're talking about who's the best, the greatest in a division, you know, you're kind of splitting hairs because a lot of times they're really close. And it's kind of fair to be that particular. But mostly it just has to do with the PED use. That's why I'm not having him on my list. But anyways, let's get started. So at number 5, I have Tito Ortiz. He had a really long string of UFC light heavyweight defenses. The one thing I do want to say is that the UFC light heavyweight division used to be called the UFC middleweight division, but it was the same poundage, right? That was, the upper limit was the same. And so that's why I included it, because eventually then they split it and made an actual middleweight division around the very early 2000s. But anyways, Tito Ortiz had a very long streak of UFC light heavyweight title defenses, and that's why he's on this list, right? He beat people like Vanderlei Silva and Ken Shamrock, and he was a great fighter, particularly for his time. Number 4, I have Alex Pereira. So this guy just came in out of the middleweight division and just started ripping through people. He's lost recently, but still, his victories that he had between Jan Blachowicz, Jamal Hill, Khalil Roundtree, and I'm sure there's one I'm missing. Oh, Yuri against Yuri. He just started tearing through people as soon as he got in the division, and that's why he's my number 4. Number 3, I have Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell was such a hard-nosed fighter. He had a very Street Fighter-like style to him, well, not style, but I guess the way he conducted himself outside of the octagon. He had a tattoo on the side of his head. He had a mohawk. He looked like he was going to be a street fighter like Tank Abbott, but in reality, he was a very accomplished and skilled kickboxer, and he was hard to take down, and it worked really well for him. He beat Tito Ortiz twice, and he owned that light heavyweight division for a bit, I think. Yeah. Chuck Liddell, he did really well in the UFC light heavyweight division, and he beat Tito Ortiz twice, and he was just a great fighter, great champion. Number 2, I have Frank Shamrock. Frank Shamrock was the inaugural UFC light heavyweight champ. He had a great run to start off. He beat Tito Ortiz, and he beat a lot of good guys, and he had a very accomplished UFC career. And he was the first UFC light heavyweight champ, and he was a balanced, well-rounded fighter, and that's why he'd win. Anyways, so we're going to move on to number 1. Number 1 is Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier was just a fantastic fighter in the UFC light heavyweight division, on top of the fact that he really wasn't a light heavyweight. He was a heavyweight. He weighed too much. Realistically, he was just able to somehow cut down to that weight class. And but he was able to rip through so many people, like Alexander Gustafsson, and you know, I'll put more names up on the list up here. His only 2 losses in the UFC light heavyweight division were against Jon Jones. One of the times Jon Jones cheated. He was on PEDs. And so that's the thing, is like, I just think there were a lot less question marks. There were a couple things here and there, but Daniel Cormier was just able to pick up people and ragdoll him. He was a fabulous wrestler. He qualified for the Olympics, and he really used that wrestling to his advantage, but he wasn't one-dimensional, and he did a fabulous job and ripped through pretty much everybody. And that's why he's my number one. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Please like, comment what you thought of this video, comment what you thought of my picks, and subscribe. I will see you all later.